Morning, good afternoon, and good evening because somewhere around the world it's that time. Today, this show is dedicated to a real survivor, someone who's actually dealt with a high level politician, not only sexually assaulting her, but actually raping her. She's had to deal with seeing the fraudulent claims of others and seeing their fraudulent efforts pacified by our government while she's had to sit there and watch continuously with no one coming to her aid and effort. She has been a voice of reason, of responsibility, and of heroism. Her name is Miss Juanita Broaddrick. And I want to thank her for being on the show today because today is a day for reckoning. On this day today, I am going to give her the whole entire show. The whole entire show will be dedicated to Miss Juanita Broaddrick. It will be dedicated to women that have dealt with actual sexual assaults. And today we will give them the voice that they deserve. You know what we do. Before we get into that, we got to get into this. Please do remember that the New Right Party channel and the New Red Party show is sponsored by patriots like you. And as long as you're sending these donations, it allows me to create the content that will continue to make these motherfuckers sick. As you were.
He's on fire!
First is the family and my family entertainment and his team no sleep. Flossy high and yeah we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul. Illuminati wanna take it. First is the family and my family entertainment and his team no sleep. Flossy high and yeah we made it. The haters keep on hating on the songs that we be making, and I heard they want my soul. Illuminati wanna take it.
CEO, bullshit, paying for the pussy, I endorse it, riding through the city, that's my off. Hey everybody, this is Shannon from the New Right Party. Thank you for being on the show. Definitely want to thank you for being on the show. Let's give another round of applause for Miss Juanita Broaddrick. I want to thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the show today. It is greatly appreciated. Everyone wants to know how you feel about the Brett Kavanaugh's hearings and having to see everything. But before we get into that, I want to take the time to give the viewers the opportunity of hearing your upbringing, how it was coming up with your siblings, what made you take the direction that led you to meeting the monster known as Bill Clinton and the monster known as Hillary Rodham Clinton, and we're going to get into everything. We're going to give them the greatest in-depth interview that they've ever received in their whole entire lives. And later on in the show, we will definitely have Miss Sharon calling in from the Angel Moms, and hopefully we'll be able to get her on the screen. But if we can't, then we will definitely have her on the show via phone call. And she definitely can't wait to talk to you. She definitely can't wait to express, her love and admiration for you. And without further ado, I'm going to give you the floor, and I'm going to ask you, please, tell us, how was your upbringing? But first, How was your day? How did you sleep? Did you sleep well? Are you
Yeah,
rested?
after all that traveling.
I'm excited. I'm so sorry. I'm excited. With all the traveling you
But I
just
was
did.
so tired when I came in from Washington and New York. You know, I've been doing interviews all over Washington, and then I ended up at Jesse Waters' show on Waters World Saturday night. So I came in, and I think I went immediately into a coma. Old, it's hard for me to hold up.
Yeah, but you don't look it at all. I'm telling you, you age better than every single last one of the monsters we named. I tell you that right now.
Yeah.
You look like you could probably be one of their daughters rather than one of their peers.
That's so kind. Thank you. I had a very difficult upbringing. I had a wonderful father, and I speak about this in my book. But I had an abusive mother.
Okay, but the name of the book. Can we get the name of the book for people who don't know?
Sure, it's on Amazon, and it's You'd Better Put Some Ice on That. That's what Bill Clinton said when he left my room after raping me.
It's also a #1 bestseller on Amazon, people. It's also a #1 bestseller. So you definitely want to go check out this book. We've ordered the book. You definitely want to order the book. Okay, I'm sorry. I just needed to tell them that it's a #1 bestseller.
Well, it was difficult, and like I say, I speak to that in my book. And when you're an abused child, like my sister and I were, mainly emotional and physical, you know, abuse, just slapping us and things like that. But it was hard. But I got through it somehow. When I was in high school, I was a cheerleader, and I was president of the student body, and very active in a lot of things. My sister was 3 years older, and she went to nurses training. And I wanted nothing to do with nursing. I wanted to be this big popular singer. I wanted to sing. And I got a music scholarship, but my father wouldn't let me use it. He said, no, you're going to be a nurse like your sister. So that's what I did. And I'm glad I did. It was the most, it's been the most rewarding career. And I was putting my first husband, after I graduated from nurses training, I was putting my first husband through college. And I began to work in nursing homes because they paid so much more because they were poor condition. And I began to develop a love for it. So at the age of 31, I got some investors, and I built my own nursing home. And here in my own hometown, it was called Brownwood Manor. And I got the name from my father. My father's name was Buster Brown Smith, and he had died in 1971. So I built the nursing home in 1974, and I just wanted to sort of acknowledge his name. So that's where the name came from. I struggled in the first few years. And then long about 1978, after I'd been open about 3 or 4 years, someone asked me, they said, would you like to go down with us to volunteer for Bill Clinton's campaign? And I thought, my God, I'm so busy and I have so much going, but that might be fun. So I went with my friends. We went down and signed up for Bill Clinton's gubernatorial campaign. And I volunteered for about a month before the incident happened.
Okay,
and
so
you know how I met him?
Before we get into that, at the time of this happening, what was the atmosphere of Arkansas? Were you involved in the nightlife? Did you the music, the culture? Can you give us a description of what the times were? Then the cars, the women, how the women portrayed themselves, how they.
Sure. Well, back then, if you've ever watched the show Mad Men, you would know that men were not all men, but some men were abusive when they spoke to women or however they treated women. And we were told back in the 50s and 60s and early 70s, men will be men, just deal with it. So that's sort of what we did. We sort of dealt with their harsh language, to us, and it was difficult, but I tried to work through all of that.
Okay, great. I needed to ask the question because I needed the audience to understand that at this time, when women were outside expressing the importance of women's rights, they actually had valid issues. There weren't women putting uterus hats on their heads and marching in the streets while they have young children viewing such a display of grotesque First Amendment speech. I'm not one to say that someone doesn't have the right to their speech. In fact, I believe everyone has the right to their speech. I just don't believe that children should be exposed to anything sexual prior to their teenage years. When me and Shannon are in a supermarket, we're affectionate. We're touchy. We're touchy feely. But I'm very adamant about not being that way while children are in the aisles, or which a child can see that, because I don't think that it's appropriate for a child to see it. I don't know whether their parents are doing it or not, but I know that I'm not going to do it. So for me, it's important to watch, what it is that we're doing. And back then, from talking to my parents, and she's younger, my mom is 60. It was pretty much the same thing. The atmosphere was pretty much the same thing. Like, men will be men, and this is just the way it is, and a good woman is supposed to. And my grandmother was the same way. Let's get to the point of how you met the monster known as Bill Clinton.
Well, like I said, I had been working in this campaign. I worked hard all day, and I was a majority women-owned nursing home. It was my mother and I, and it was difficult because people would come in and say, "You own it." They would want to speak to the man in charge. Well, I was the woman in charge, and so that was difficult back then. But about a month after I'd started volunteering for Bill Clinton's gubernatorial campaign, his campaign office called and said that he was going to be in the area and could he come by my nursing home on the tour, and we were excited. Listen, Tony, we thought that was the best thing in the world, and we got so excited waiting for the day to come. Got the residents ready. Many of their family came in. All of my employees were wearing these Clinton for Governor buttons, and then in comes Bill Clinton with all of his entourage, and people were real excited. Well, the front cover of my book shows a picture of myself and Bill Clinton and two of my residents. That's what the newspaper wanted. And so after we had this photo op, Bill Clinton comes over to me, and he starts talking, very charismatic, never lost eye contact with you, was so interested in what you had to say. I mean, you were the person of the moment as far as you knew. And so I thought, this is a good time to talk to him about the horrible reimbursement rate that we had in Arkansas at that time. I was a nurse, so I was going to take care of my patients. But the reimbursement would not pay us all of the things that it took to take care, of just one resident. So I began to talk to him about this, and I said, if you become governor, I need to talk to you about my ideas about the reimbursement method for Arkansas. And he said, that's just great. He said, are you ever in Little Rock? And I said, yes, I'll be there with my nurse in 3 weeks. We have a seminar. And he said, well, just call my office and when you all get down here, and let's make plans to meet. So I worked for the next 3 days on getting forms and graphs and everything to show him my cost and what we were being reimbursed. And I was so excited to talk to him. So April the 24th, 1978 rolls around. My nurse, Norma Rogers, and I drive to Little Rock that evening after we get off work. And the next morning when we get up, we call his campaign office, and the little young lady answers, and she said, and I said, is Mr. Clinton there? And she said, no, he's not here. And she said, I had told her who I was. It was Hickey at that time. I said, this is Mrs. Hickey. And she said, oh, Hickey, he said if you ever call, for you to call this number. So I call that number, He answers the phone almost immediately, and I remind him who I am, that I'm there with my nurse, and could we come over to his office for our hour break at noontime? And he said, I'm not going to be there today. He said, now we're talking 8 o'clock in the morning. And he said, I'll just come to your hotel now and meet you down in the Camelot coffee shop. And I thought, that's great. I won't have to drive clear across town. So I turned to Norma and I said, you go on to the meeting. And as soon as I'm through in the coffee shop, I'll be right on to the meeting. Well, Norma leaves. And in a few minutes, the phone rings in my room, and it's Bill Clinton. And he says, it's so crowded down here, and there's reporters. He said, can we just talk about this and have coffee in your room? And I'm sure I was apprehensive, Tony, because I've never been alone in a hotel room with a man that I didn't know. But we're talking, he was the Attorney General, so I know, even though it was 40 years ago, that I didn't have a fear of letting him come to my room to talk.
I don't think that, sorry to butt in, but I don't think that any woman at that time would have thought, or any woman in this time, well, apparently maybe, but I don't think that any woman at that time would have thought that. I don't think so either.
No.
But I'm sorry.
No, sort of like he was giving the orders, and that's what we did. We listened to men more then than we do now. And he was just saying, okay, we're going to have the meeting in your room. And I told him that was fine. So I ordered coffee to the room. In a few minutes, he shows up after the coffee's delivered. And the first thing that struck me as very strange is when he knocks at the door, I go to my door, and there he stands in a very dimly lit hallway with sunglasses on. And that I can remember being taken back a little bit by wondering why he had on dark sunglasses. Anyway, I ushered him on. Uh-oh.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
Have you still got me?
Yes, we still got you. It's okay.
If you could just see this setup, it's on a ladder. Anyway, I ushered him on in the room, took him over to the table, and he took off his suit coat, laid it across the chair, and walked around the other side of the table by the bed. And I stayed on this side where the coffee was. And I started pouring coffee, and I remember he said, come around here. I want to show you this building. Where my room was, you could look out, I think, the 6th or 7th floor, and you could look out down on the Arkansas River. And down there was some old buildings. And he pointed, I walked around to where he was standing, and he pointed to a little building down there. He said it was an 1800 jailhouse that he wanted to restore when he became governor. But as he pointed, when I went around the table and was standing by him, as he pointed, he puts his arm around my shoulder to point. And that made me uncomfortable. Wow. And then I sort of back away from him and start to go around the other side of the table. And that's when he grabs me, come to my room for. And about that time is when he started pushing me backwards to the bed. And I sort of gathered myself and was able to push back. And that's when he started trying to kiss me. And when I screamed, he would bite on my upper lip. Scared me to death. I couldn't believe it. I thought, my God, he's going to bite my lip off. And that's when I fell backwards on the bed. And a lot of this is fuzzy, but I remember him tearing at my clothes. And the description's in my book, and I really don't want to go through.
You don't have to make them. If anyone wants to read, if anyone wants to know the actual specifics of what she actually remembered, the book is on Amazon, and it is titled "You Better Put Some Ice on That." It's by Miss Juanita Broaddrick, and I don't wish to have this woman go through all the specific details in the book. It is all in there. But what we're going to go to now is after the incident happened, coming out.
Yeah, it was, well, after the rape, I was in such a state of shock. I could not believe what had just happened to me. I thought I was going to die. And he calmly gets up, straightens himself, puts on his suit coat, and the very strangest thing that he said to me before he said the title of my book is he just stood there. I was crying. I was devastated. And he looks at me and he said, "Don't worry, I'm sterile. I had mumps when I was a child." And I thought, my God, you just raped me, and why are you saying these crazy things? And I just started crying that much more. And then he calmly puts on his sunglasses, and he walks to the door and motions to my mouth, which is swollen and bleeding, and he says, "You'd better put some ice on that."
And he successfully runs for governor after this, and he wins. Yeah. Did you report this to the authorities?
Oh, no, no. In fact, when I didn't show up for the meeting, about 30 minutes after the rape, Norma comes back to the room and comes to the door, and I rush over to the door and see it's her. Lord, I was so dazed, I had even forgotten where I was or that she was waiting for me at the meeting. I open the door, and she sees me in that condition, and I just start bellowing all over again. I mean, and she comes in, we sit on the foot of the bed, and I remember telling her what had just happened to me. And then she stops and she goes out and gets ice from my mouth and comes back, and it seems like I can remember her first words being to me, "What are we going to do? What do you want to do?" I said, "Just take me home. Just take me home." So that's what she did. She gathered up everything we had and took everything down to the car, came back and got more ice from my mouth, and drove my car home, with me in it. And we talked on the way. And my first thought was that it was my fault. Because back in the 70s, you allow a man to come to your room, it's your fault. You better just get ready to accept the blame. There's no way. There was no DNA testing back then. And people say, "Why didn't you call the police?" Bill Clinton was the Attorney General of my state. He was the police. And he also regulated my businesses. He could have shut me down in a moment's notice.
So let's fast forward to the Clintons run for the White House. At this moment in time, is it known that Bill Clinton raped you?
Oh, no. It's only known by that lady and 5 others that I told in the first week.
But it's what I'm trying to say is that it's known, though. But it's known by more than the person that was there with you. I'm just trying to prove a point.
Oh yeah, 5 other people.
5 other people. 5 other people knew. So 5 other people knew of the date, of the time, and of the location of the rape.
Oh yes.
Okay. I just want to make a note of this because as we go further into the show, I want people to understand the actual difference between an actual survivor of a sexual assault and a rape in this case, opposed to someone that has come out the blue, and this person is charged these allegations against such a upstanding man. That I want people to understand, the two. We're going to get into that as we continue to go. So, Clinton's in the White House. 5 people, 6 people total, 7 people total, including you. No, 8 people, maybe your husband, because I'm not sure if he knows or if he was part of the 5 people. Was he part of the 5 people?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch
your first husband at the time, was he part of the 5 people?
No, my first husband, as I talked about on the NBC Dateline interview back in 1999, my first husband and I were in the midst of, we separated and were about to go through a divorce. My first husband was an alcoholic, and I was already into a relationship with another man, which I had to describe on, on the dateline, because that was the truth at the time. I was not divorced and having an affair with another man. That second man, after my divorce was final, and we married, and that's where I get the name Broaddrick. But my first husband, no, because I could not go in and tell somebody that I actually barely even spoke to during that time. We hardly ever spoke unless we were doing something for our son. So no, the other persons that I told, I knew I was going to be seeing in the next few days, and it took several days for my mouth and the bruising to go down to be able to cover it by makeup. So these people knew me well enough, I knew I had to tell. The next one that we told was Norma's sister, who was also one of my nurses that worked for me at the time. And the third person I told was a lady that has been my lifelong friend even to today. We were roommates in nurses training. Her name is Kathleen Kriegler. The fourth person I told was also a nursing friend that I went to school with, that I was together with all the time. And the fifth person that I told, it's very unusual how she found out. I would not have involved her with this information, but she called me one day. It was about 3 or 4 days after I'd gotten back, and she says, I need to speak to you. She says, we need to get together. I was the godmother of her children. We went to church together. We were friends. And she says, I've got to talk to you about something. She says, meet me at the city park. So she drove to the city park, and so did I. And I'll never forget getting in her car, and she said, I need to talk to you. She said, did you know there were rumors going around that you were having an affair with David Broaddrick? And I thought, oh, God, that's what you want to talk to me about. And I started crying, and somehow she said, what's wrong? And then she noticed my lip, too, and she said, what's wrong with your mouth? So that's why she found out.
Wow. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So now, at what year when did you confront Hillary Clinton, or when did Hillary Clinton confront you?
3 weeks after the rape. I told you I volunteered for him. Mm-hmm. I also helped organize a fundraiser for him 3 weeks after the rape. But I had done this before the rape, and I had arranged to have it at my friend's home, Buddy and Betty Criswell. Buddy was my dentist, and Betty and I played tennis together. And they had this gorgeous home, so I knew it would be appropriate and wonderful for a fundraiser for Bill Clinton for governor. And during that time, I absolutely forgot about it. I didn't think anything. All I could do was try to get this out of my mind and get over the horror that had happened to me and go to work every day. And so about the day before the fundraiser, Betty calls me and she said, do you have the list of donors? And I thought, oh my God, the Clintons are coming to town. I said, yes, but I can't come to the fundraiser. I said, I'm not feeling well, or I gave her some excuse. And I said, but I'll get these up to you before the fundraiser. So up I go that evening. Fundraiser starts at 7. I get there at 6:30. And I give her the information. But before I can get out of her house, and I also had some checks that people had written for the campaign. So I wanted to give those to the lady from Little Rock. I did all of that, was about to leave, and here comes my friend that drove the Clintons from the Fort Smith Airport to the Criswell home. And he rushes over to me. His name was Chuck Watts. And he said, the topic of the conversation all the way from the airport was the Clintons asking me information about you. And Chuck never knew what had happened to me. But he was so excited that he was able to answer questions for the Clintons about Juanita Hickey at that time. And so here I start for the door. And as I go to the door, it was almost like we intervened. Before I got to the door, here comes Hillary Clinton straight for me, takes a hold of my hand, and as she walked to me, I thought, oh my God, here comes that poor woman that's married to that monster. And I didn't have any idea what I could do. I just had to try to get out of there. And so she comes over to me and she says, I just want you to know how appreciative that Bill and I are for everything that you do in this campaign. I could have nodded. I could have said thank you. I do not remember. I just remember thinking I've got to get out of there. So I turned to leave, and all of a sudden somebody grabs me from behind, very harshly, grabs hold of my arm. I turn around and it's her. And she pulls me in her and she says, do you understand everything you do? I could have fainted. I thought, as I walked to the door and got myself out of there, I thought, that woman knows what happened and she's threatening me. And I left.
That is crazy.
You know, it was like being raped all over again. It was like, it was just like it was awful.
When did the world find out about this monster's attack on you? When did the United States Senate become aware of it?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to tell you about an incident prior to that because it leads up to it.
Please, that's
1991, I am back down in Little Rock, and I am at a nursing home seminar with Norma Rogers, the lady that found me, and her sister, Jean Darden. And it's almost noontime, and we're sitting in the seminar, and some gentleman comes to the door and says, Juanita Broaddrick is wanted in the hallway. And I immediately think that it might be an emergency from home. So I get up, leave, go outside. And the man points down around. He said, you're needed down there. And it was down around the corner by the elevator. And so I walked down there. And as I round that corner, there stands Bill Clinton. This is 1991. I had not seen this man in 13 years. And as I round that corner and lay eyes on him with his two Arkansas State policemen, I froze. I mean, it scared the hell out of me because there he stood. And so he comes over to me and he immediately starts saying, I'm so sorry for what I did. I'm a changed man. I'm a family man. I hope you can forgive me. And I just keep backing up. I don't want anywhere near this jerk. And he just stands there after he says all this. And I just look at him and I'm crying. And I look at him and I say, you go to hell. And I turned and walked off. And as I walked back to my friends, they had followed me out. They said, what did he want? And I said, he apologized. And we just couldn't believe it. But of course, 2 weeks later, he announced he was running for president. Now, what frightened me most about that moment is that it was like he was saying, hey, I can reach out and touch you anytime. How did he know where I was, at that time in my life? That was frightening. Now, going on up, he announces for president. And I keep thinking, I got to come out. I have got to come out and tell what happened to me. And it was still frightening, Tony. Then I find out about Jennifer Flowers, and I think, oh, well, she saved me. I don't have to come out. I don't have to say anything. This woman is coming forward, and she's going to take him down. Well, we know that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
I mean, that was horrible. And then through 92 till about 95, there would always be rumors, because I'm sure the 5 people I told accidentally told somebody else, and it got around. Or maybe Hillary told somebody, and it got around. I don't know. Or maybe Bill told somebody. But I stayed away from it because anybody, after he announced for president, that came forward, Hillary would ruin. I mean, she would harass and go after them. And I thought, that's not for me. I then owned 2 nursing homes, and I wanted nothing to do with this. I wanted to just forget that this ever happened. And so I went back in the woodwork. I thought, I'm not going to be
destroyed.
victimized.
I'm not going to be destroyed in front of the whole world and called trailer trash
Yeah,
and a slut. And they believe in her and they're just soaking it up. And she's just
yeah,
getting away with it. None of the news media was fighting for women then. They still don't fight for women when it comes to Democrats
yeah.
hurting women and sexually assaulting women. It doesn't matter. They don't hold them accountable. I'm sorry, I just had to say that because it's just appalling to know that these things happen and yet that didn't happen to you. And you've watched someone that ran for president destroy these victims on national television. I'm sorry to NSC. You can continue.
Yeah, yeah. It was terrible. So I thought, no, they're not going to do that to me. And then in 1997, I had 2 investigators for Paula Jones show up on my front doorstep. That's before I had my security gate and the big fence around my home. And I go to the door and I walk out on the porch to talk to them. Their names were Rick and Beverly Lambert. And they were there to they had heard rumors, and they were there to try to convince me to testify for the Paula Jones versus Clinton case. And I told them in no many uncertain words that no, that was the most horrible event in my life, and I am not coming forward. So you go back and you tell Paula Jones and her attorneys, don't look to me for help. Well, unbeknownst to me, they were recording me. And they never told me. I had no idea. Well, here goes this recording back to Paula Jones's attorneys, and then I am subpoenaed and for a deposition as Jane Doe number 5 in the Paula Jones suit. My son's an attorney, and he found out about it first, and he tells me about it. And I told him, I said, they're not going to pull me in this. I'm going to lie. I was angry, Tony, that somebody would try to pull me into their lawsuit when they knew how painful this was to me and how I did not want to get involved for their own personal gain. I didn't know Paula at the time. She's a fine woman, and I met her in 2016. But back then, in 97 and 98, I was angry that they were doing this to me. So, yes, I went to that deposition and I lied. That was the first time I was ever on record. I lied. And when I left that deposition, I thought, okay, jerk, now you know you're not getting any help from me. And I thought, that's the end of that. I'm going to forget it. Well, no. That wasn't the end. About a month later to 2 months later, I'm not for sure the dates, my son says, Mom, you're going to be deposed by Ken Starr. So I said, well, I'm not going to tell. And he said, let me come over. And I'll never forget that morning. He said, he drove over to my house from his law office. And we sat in my kitchen and he said, Mom, Paula Jones was a civil lawsuit. He said, this is federal, this is serious. You can't lie anymore. You've got to tell the truth. And so I had to think about it for a day or two, but I finally agreed with him. It was time to come forward. I had to get this off of my shoulders. I had to tell. So I did tell. And the reason that Ken Starr wanted to depose me is because he had that recording with me admitting it to these 2 investigators for Paula Jones. And then here he has my deposition for the Paula Jones case saying, no, nothing happened. So he's in the middle of an impeachment of the president for lying and for obstruction of justice. He wanted to know, was I threatened or was I bought off to lie in the Paula Jones suit? So he gave me immunity if I would tell the truth, which I finally did. But people say, well, she lied here, said the truth here. There was one lie, and then I came clean.
Well, and anyone watching my show, I have a series called Caught the Clintons. So far, we're at volume 4. So I've showed the body count. I've showed the drug activity. Yes, I've shown. On this show, I pride myself on investigative journalism. It may come with a twist, but I've disclosed the drug activity. I've disclosed the murders, the bodies, the so-called suicides by shotguns to the face and sawed-off shotguns to the face. So anyone watching this show is well aware of just how dangerous these individuals actually are. And for any woman at that time, you know, knowing how powerful these people are and how no one has, you know, done anything to stop them, I'm quite certain that you were quite afraid to actually come out and say anything. I mean, of course, for reputation purposes, but also for reasons of health. I mean, who wants to die? You know, no one. You know, I may be the only idiot running around here, running around here showing his face. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, no one should want to die, and to have the wife of your assailant grab you forcefully and indirectly threaten you, I'm pretty sure is enough also to frighten anyone. So Ken Starr gives you immunity, and it comes out. How does it make you feel at this particular time now that the truth is out?
Okay, they were very, very nice to me. People say, well, Ken Starr discredited her. That's a lie. Ken Starr believed me. But my case of lying in the Paula Jones suit could prove no obstruction of justice whatsoever. I hadn't been bought off. I hadn't been threatened, except I told them about what happened with Hillary way back. You're talking 20 years before, which had nothing to do with the current charges against Bill Clinton. So I was of no use. But all of my depositions and Ken Starr, I know, believed everything that I had to say. They were absolutely so nice to me. But this did not figure into it. But let me tell you, Tony, it was then a part of the impeachment. My deposition, my horrific descriptions of what happened to me is part of the impeachment. It's a part of those records that are still sealed to this day and have never been looked at since I went on record. Since the impeachment records were closed, I'm still locked up in Washington in those records. But during this impeachment process, Henry Hyde asked the Democrats, specifically Feinstein, Durbin, and Schumer, we have this credible accusations, very credible, from a woman in Arkansas. We're not going to bring her into the hearing, but we want to impress upon you the importance of just reading her record. And not one would read it, not one Democrat. Only the Republicans reviewed it.
It's a shame.
It is.
What do you think about opening up the impeachment file?
Oh, I'm hoping they will. I'm hoping. I've been going on Twitter for the last year saying, please open my deposition with the independent counsel.
Even though the case happened in Arkansas, and does Arkansas have a statute of limitations on sexual crimes?
Yes, 7 years.
7 years. New York, I believe, is 5 to 7 years as well. And in most cases, criminal evidence is disposed of after 7 years. But I'm wondering why the House or the Senate aren't asking the FBI to look into Bill Clinton's past. It's amazing. It's amazing how Judge Kavanaugh, and people can say that, oh, Bill Clinton's not running for office. But let me explain something to people. Let me explain something to people. When Hillary ran for office, Bill ran for office, because when you're married to someone, that's a union of two people becoming one.
Yes.
Okay? The law requires that if I'm married to someone, that this person can't testify against me, because it would be as if this person is forced to testify against themselves, which goes against their Fifth Amendment. So with that legal stipulation, at that particular time of her running, they could have asked for an investigation then. They didn't.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't until President Trump brought us to the second debate that we began to come back out in the media and the public eye of what this man had done to us. Listen, when I finished my NBC Dateline interview in January, and then they aired it in February of '99, I went back into the woodwork until 2015. I'm sitting in my den in there, and I see Hillary Clinton come on TV, and she's saying to the TV a tweet that she had tweeted, and it's, all victims of sexual abuse should come forward and be believed, and we're with you. I almost fell out of the chair. How could that come out of her mouth? You know, it was absolutely.
Seeing so many African Americans, and African American, well, I say African Americans, no, it's not that many African Americans. How many? Seeing the black American women, and the white American women, and Indian and Chinese American women eating this up. How does it make you feel knowing what kind of monster she really is?
It upsets me to no end, and it's just like I tweeted 2 or 3 days ago when she said they need to be that Ford needed to be given the benefit of the doubt. That's when I tweeted, and I think we got 50,000 likes almost immediately. That okay, let's go back that far. But while you're going back that far, let's go back to me. Let's go back to Kathleen Willey. Let's go back to Leslie Milwee.
Seeing Bill Cosby receiving 3 to 10 years in prison, and he is no saint, and by no means can you expect any sympathy from me, from anyone that drugs women. I do believe that he's responsible for doing the things that he's done. He said he's responsible for doing the things that he's done. And it's come out that Bill Clinton is responsible for doing the things that he's done. How does it make you feel seeing this 70, 80-year-old man receiving 3 to 10 years in prison, and knowing in your heart that Bill Clinton is a monster like him, if not a greater monster than he is?
Oh, it's awful. But we don't have an Andrea Constand. That's the only thing that got Bill Cosby. There was a lady, Andrea Constand, that fell within the statute of limitations. I think it was in California?
I know he was tried in Pennsylvania. I believe he was tried in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he was tried in Pennsylvania. But
I'm getting low on battery.
All right. Well, we are close to the hour right now. Real quick before we leave, about the Brett Kavanaugh's hearing, you were there. No one's got the interview asking you how you felt about it, seeing it. How did you feel? How did it make you feel? How do you believe Judge Kavanaugh? And what about this story do you disbelieve? Please, real quick before you go.
Yeah, I do not believe. I'm sorry. There's just too much. It's too sketchy and it's too vague. Dr. Ford's memory. I've been there. I know what you can remember. I've not talked to any rape or sexual abuse survivor that has such a memory loss as Christine Ford has. I cried for Judge Kavanaugh.
Of course you have.
When he began to talk, my heart goes out to him.
My heart goes out to him too. Somebody wants to say hello to you before you go. If you have 1 minute, I'm going to get her on the phone right now. I was going to try to call FaceTime, but I do understand your time. So I'm going to get her on the phone right now. And we're going to see if we can get her on. And so she can say hello to you and just... let's see if I can get her on. Let's see. Hey, Sharon.
Which one? Shannon.
Hi, Juanita.
Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm doing really good. It is an honor and a privilege to speak to you. I'm so humble. You are one of the bravest women out there. And I want you to know that I always believed you. Thanks.
She's sort of cutting out on me.
She said she always believed you.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Thank you. I'm so sorry for what you went through.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm gonna Sharon. I want to thank you for calling in. This is Sharon from the Angel Moms. People, I will later today. I did find a file. Later today, I will be re-releasing the Angel Moms episode without any glitches or any interruptions because YouTube love to destroy the feed as much as they can. Sharon, I'm gonna call you back. I'm gonna say our goodbyes to Mrs. Broaddrick, Miss Juanita. It is a pleasure, and I am grateful and I am thankful for,
thank you so much.
all the information that you provided us today, for allowing me to put you on our platform. I have a broad base, but I do have a great deal of Black Americans who are watching the show, and I am trying to red pill America. And I'm thankful that you came today with this dose of this medicine, because people need to realize that in all actuality, the only thing that matters to these people on the left is the left, their power, and that's it. The regular people like you and I, we do not matter. Even people that's rich and that has millions and that's judges, they don't matter. The only thing that matters is their agenda, which is destroy our country. I want to thank you so much for allowing us this great opportunity and chance. And I want to tell everyone, thank you for tuning in. I want to thank Miss Shannon from the New Right Party, the co-executive, for being in the building, for being part of the interview. And I want to thank all of the guests. I'm going to say goodbye to Miss Broaddrick, and I'm going to switch over to the Oval Office, and I'm also going to thank Miss Shannon for being in the building. Thank you very, very much, Miss Juanita. We will be in touch with you a little bit later on, today or tomorrow, because we have a gift that we want to get to you. You said something was going on with something, and it's something that we looked into, so we'll get you situated, and we have a surprise for you. And it's not for the world to know. It's just between us and you. That's it. All right? I love you.
Thank you, guys.
Shannon loves you. The world loves you. My platform loves you, and we're appreciative. God bless you. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay American. Thank you, Miss.
God bless you, Tony, for what you're doing.
I'm out here trying to die to do it. So if the point gets proven, then it is what it is. What it is. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, let me thank you, Miss Broaddrick, for coming to the show. We're going to switch over, and I'm going to ask Miss Shannon before she leaves how she feels about the episode. So I'm going to switch over to her show while I set up my set. So, Miss Shannon, while I'm fixing up my set, how did you like the episode? How did you like it? I like your set. Your set is nice, man. That's nice.
I think it's. I just, she said Hillary Clinton, right?
Yeah, she said
Hillary Clinton came to her.
Yes.
So great. I mean, I just don't understand how all of this stuff just gets so buried. Like, I never knew that. Yeah, I never knew that. And I'm just looking at all the comments here, and everybody's so supportive of her, and I really love that. Hillary threatened her, yeah. I wonder how many other people she's threatened, how many other women, because it's just confusing to me that women support her so much, because I've seen people like stand outside in line waiting to meet her saying, she's my idol, I've always looked up to her, and I'm trying to understand why.
I mean,
You know?
I think that people are driven to the celebrity idea of it more than the actual aspect of her record. I think that the television has made her cool
Like
because because television has made her cool because she's on it so much. It doesn't really necessarily matter what she's actually done, as long as it fits a narrative that allows her to push it whenever she gets the chance to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Dina Marie, Hillary was in Isabel's Pitbull. I think that's true. I think she's behind everything.
I think that she actually
she's
ran
definitely
the country.
pulling the strings for sure. Well, the other day you said she already was president.
Yeah, she
already was president because she was the one running everything. She was behind everything. As if the Clintons purposely sought Juanita out to continue to harass her. Yeah, it's probably true, Sharon. I agree.
Have Sharon call back up, maybe and let's give Sharon some talk time.
Sharon, do you want to talk?
Can we call her Skype?
Can we call you on Skype and you want to talk about Miss Juanita and anything you want to talk about? They're psychopaths. True. She says she's on Skype.
She says she's on Skype?
Okay, we're going to give you a call.
Tell her to give me a call.
Oh, can you give us a call?
Well, just tell her to give me a call. You're on your set, and I would have to be back on my set, so...
I agree, Gen V. It's mind-boggling. Billions of people deceived. I agree. It's hard to even process it. I don't understand it.
Let me see. Ask her if she has the Skype.
She said she's on it right now.
Let me see.
Can you call us? Can you call us, Sharon? What does Hillary do? It's true.
Tell her to text the Skype to you. Tell her to text her Skype to you, and I'll call her on it right now.
Sharon, can you text your Skype to me? And then we'll call you on it. It's true. Or they were Bernie supporters.
Here I am.
Because they couldn't go right, but they couldn't vote Hillary. That's true. But,
Today was a great show, man. It was great having Miss
so great having her on. She's so classy.
She is.
She's such a lady. It's nice to see that.
And you guys seen it. I actually did a whole entire episode without using any profanity whatsoever.
Was it hard?
No, not at all.
It's not hard around her because she's just, she's so graceful and such a, so classy.
I'm gonna respect her like I would respect anyone's mother or grandmother. My mom, she curses, so this is how we communicate when we communicate with one another. It's okay. Sometimes it's not, though. You got to pick and choose when you curse around your mom. You might catch a hand slap. But it wasn't difficult at all. I think today was a great show, and I'm really, really fortunate that I got the chance to get her take on the Kavanaugh's.
She says it says you're offline.
All right, tell her I said give me her. Tell her text me hers.
Can you text me? Can you text me your?
I had to start a
Skype?
new one. I had to open up a new Skype. My computer was hacked. Someone hacked it, went in and did a whole bunch of blah 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 blah. And I mean, I'm pretty damn good with computers, man. And this person was pretty damn good. I mean, it had to be really government issue hacking status because myself and 3 other Apple geniuses couldn't undo what was done. So that's big.
I'm glad that people are interviewing her so much right now and getting her voice heard. I'm really happy about that.
I'm glad that my platform is the first of its kind to excel in the way that it has, and we've actually had such a great impact on on uh, on YouTube and social media that it's been overwhelming. And when you come in with the idea to be absolutely honest and not
Dewell said a great comment.
what he
It's
said.
awesome how she went from Crowder to the New Right Party. If she was lying, she'd be on MSM only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
It's true.
I'm gonna give Sharon a call. Okay, we have you on. Let me see. We have you on. Whoa, that is just me they're saying right now, and they're saying nothing but a green screen. Let me boot that real quick. Let me get you on. So I don't see you just yet. Okay, now I have you. Hey, sis, what's up?
Hey, good morning.
Hold on, let me get you on the screen now because they was just seeing my green screen. There you go. Hey, sis.
Hi, Sherry.
How are you doing, Sharon?
I'm fine.
Sis. Check it, sis.
Oh, Siri, shut down.
We said Sherry.
Siri is just jumping in like, hey, me? You need me?
No,
You need...
Sherry.
They're listening. They're always listening. All right, so I'm sorry I couldn't get the Skype going, but we will.
No, it's okay.
We will plan on having Miss Broaddrick on the show in the future, and it was something that was going on. And I guess when we get off of live, we'll tell you, what the issue was on, to not be able to make it happen. But I'm glad I got to have you call in and tell her how you feel about her, and I'm glad that she got the chance to tell you. Thank you. How do you feel about the Kavanaugh's hearings? And first and foremost, the accuser. What about her story makes you feel, if you feel like she may be false in her accusations of who actually assaulted her?
Number one, her complete lack of consistency. Watching her even speak, it's okay to be afraid, but I kept thinking about this woman is a professor. She speaks in front of people all the time, maybe not in front of tons of cameras, but she just is, in my gut, I felt wasn't credible. The fact that there were no witnesses, no
where it happened,
police reports, nothing like Miss Juanita. Miss Juanita told people within a week of when it happened. The one person that Miss Ford says knew about it is saying she knew nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down my thoughts here.
Yeah, please.
So
Let us have them. Let us have them.
So, but the biggest thing was the discrepancies and the lack of consistency. It's okay to look at notes when you're telling your story. But she was humming and hawing, and it just was very uncomfortable to watch her. I wanted to believe her so bad.
I'm sorry.
Really wanted to believe her. But as more is coming out, I just can't. I can't do it. And I think at this point that Mr. Kavanaugh would probably admit to it with everything going on if he did it. You know what I mean? I think they've just put him through the ringer, and I think he would admit to it.
I think that also what isn't expressed is that she took herself to the party. She brought herself to this party, and she can't remember where she was or whose house it was when this was a party that, in fact, she had to have been invited to. She was invited to it, and she was there. She was there on her own accord, took herself there, but can't seem to remember how she got there.
Exactly. And I'm not saying this for all victims of sexual assault or all rape victims. But one of the biggest things is that when you are assaulted or raped is that it really does get stuck in your head what happens. And that's part of the whole PTSD thing, is that you're constantly reliving things over and over, even when you're in a safe environment. And to not remember such vital things that supposedly happened is, again, another lack of consistency, and it's very hard to believe it.
It's hard to swallow. This man is being ran through the ringer and being done so under the guise of them doing some fraudulent investigation, when ultimately the FBI won't come to a conclusion on anything. They'll just give a report on everything that they were already asked. It's ridiculous.
The other thing that really has bothered me about this, now, from my understanding, did this particular incident happen in California or was it Massachusetts?
There's no statute of limitations. It's where it happened, right? Yeah, because like people kept telling her to the police. Where was it? It was. I think it was in M State. Does anybody know where it happened? It was in California.
Where? What? Her assault against Bill Clinton? It happened in Arkansas.
Oh, you're talking about? Well, you're talking
about
No. Ford.
I'm talking about Ford.
She
at
said
this
it happened
point.
in Washington,
I apologize.
D.C. She said it happened in Washington, D.C. She said if it happened in D.C., then it's in Maryland's district, and there is no statute of limitations on it. She could have had him charged for it at any time. It's in Maryland.
Yeah,
she could have had it charged for it any time she wanted.
She could have walked in before the hearing with her team of experts and said, I want to file a report. She still hasn't done it.
No.
So, anyway, not to bounce back and forth, but in regards to Miss Juanita, the big difference is that she told people, and to have gone through what she went through, I can't even imagine in her case, because she was smeared. She was dragged through the mud by the media, and they're vultures. The media is vultures, and it's all for talking points, And she shouldn't have to come back out again and defend herself. But I so much respect her for doing it, because there is a double standard, And I think I mentioned this before to you guys. What's good enough for me, but not for thee.
Exactly.
So you have these senators sitting there saying, oh, we're going to do everything we can for Ford. Some of them are the same senators that were sitting there when this Clinton stuff was going on, who did nothing. You didn't do anything. So that's the biggest problem right now, is this double standard. Makes me nauseous, you know.
Cory Booker admittedly said that he sexually assaulted a woman when he was young, that he groped her, and that actually she was intoxicated. So with that admission, it kind of makes it an open sexual assault. I'm wondering why isn't it that he's being investigated, and how is it that he can continuously sit in the seat that he currently has when he's actually come out and stated that he sexually assaulted a woman, and
exactly. And Keith Ellison too. Let's not forget about Keith Ellison.
Oh yes, Keith Ellison too.
Yeah, both of them. There's no excuse for them to still be sitting in the position they're in with the knowledge that's out there and the court documents to back it up. You know what I mean?
To me, as a woman, the scariest thing is that, you know, men, let's put them to the side for a second, but just that women actually believe that these people care about them.
Yep.
Part of me thinks, are these women, do they have bad home lives where they're just so desperate for, because I work with people a lot, and they're so desperate for anyone to care. And that's what I wonder, are these women just so desperate for anybody to even think that they care, and so they just latch onto them, like, you know what I mean? Like, it fascinates me that I don't know. Like, it's
the virtue signaling.
Yeah, I mean, it must make them feel good, I guess. I mean, that's what because it looks like as they're screaming, it's like they're getting a high from it. You know, like in their brain, they must get like these endorphins, or like they care about me, we're fighting, and just really sad.
Yeah, and that virtue signaling has been going on this, you know, God knows how long, and it just keeps getting louder and louder. I mean, yeah, everybody has a right to be believed, but you know, again, this whole Me Too movement, you wonder, you know, what is the end goal with all this? I mean, really.
There's never an end goal.
What's the end goal?
With these people, what they do is they focus on creating a disturbance that they can rely on to feed the media's lust for ratings. That's the only thing the media whores care about, is ratings and money. And as long as they can get that done and do that, then that's the only thing they care about. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I've seen 2 different studies. I believe it's 1 in every 5 women has experienced some sort of sexual assault in their lifetime. And so what the media has done is taken just about the worst thing, again, a bottom line, which is rape or sexual assault, and started using the trigger word, rape, gang rape, train, sexual assault, over and over and over, playing on the emotions of the people who've been through it, which inflates everything. And then, you know, we've had this where people are taking sides at this point. You know, do we believe Kavanaugh? Do we believe Ford? And they kind of created a monster from it on people's emotions.
And this is going to sound really bad. I probably shouldn't even put this on the internet, but I really do think that some people are so lost, like women, that they want to be a part of it, even if they haven't been assaulted. I think that there's some women who just want to be a part of this.
Because
you
know? Because they're strong.
Terrible,
they're strong in their advocating for women, but what they're not understanding is that they're actually setting women back a lot when you just jump in. Look at Tawana Brawley. I brought up the case of Tawana Brawley, right? The black girl that Al Sharpton and them used and threw in front of the cameras when she was actually lying, you know, and everything that she was saying that happened to her, she was lying. So look at this. As soon as they had the opportunity to take someone that was a victim and it was about race baiting and rape, oh, forget about it. They took it and they ran with that like you would not believe. Like you wouldn't believe. They ran with it like you would not believe. Oh my God, it was ridiculous, man. And to this day, you see them doing it, but you see them doing it to a man who has done absolutely nothing in his entire life to deserve what you see currently being done to him on television.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. I agree with you. And wow, it's kind of left me speechless. Like I'm afraid. I'm kind of like Lindsey Graham here. I'm afraid if these people get power,
Absolutely.
any more power than what they have, because if they're willing to do this to one person, what else are they going to do? You know, and I think a big focus should be, instead of everybody screaming, you know, as we were just talking about, you know, you got a group of women screaming and screaming, and then you've got the group of women who are kind of silently suffering. If people could stop screaming and just listen to each other, you know, that's the big thing. And having the FBI involved is just mind-boggling at this point, because the FBI should have been involved in every single rape case, every single assault case that is out there. And that's a special privilege to have that done. It's not, I keep saying it's just not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair to anybody. And Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein want to sit, and pardon me if this sounds really nasty, but they want to sit on their high damn horses and act like they care for assault victims when they couldn't give. Can I swear on here?
I'm not swearing today. You can do whatever you want. I'm not swearing today.
They can sit on their high horse and not give two shits about any other assault victim, especially in their own state. But they want to give that preferential treatment to Miss Ford. And it makes no sense to me. None whatsoever. None. They don't even try in California. They don't. So for them to go to Washington, D.C. and run their mouths, and I've seen pictures where they were laughing and shaking hands like this was all some sort of funny thing. It's not funny, you know.
The women passing money envelopes.
Money. This Miss Ford has, last count was almost $1 million sitting in 3 different GoFundMes, you know, and that team of experts, sorry I'm going to go a little high strung here, but a team of experts. She doesn't have to pay a frickin' dime for these people, right? The backing of Feinstein, the backing of Kamala Harris, and whoever else is involved. And, you know, I've been talking to people online about this. Then the real victims who sit in their states, who get ignored, who get treated like crap, have to watch this. And it's disgusting. And it's unfair. And it has to stop. Sorry.
We gotta go in, because in 35 days we have an election that's going to take place, and we have to go and we have to vote. I want to thank all my guests for tuning in today. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this show, and I want to thank my sister Sharon for calling up, because that's my sister from another mister. I want to thank Miss Juanita Broaddrick for tuning in. I want to thank everyone that got the chance to check out the show. I want to thank you guys for doing so. It's appreciated. Checking my monitor. I want to thank Miss Shannon for tuning into the show today. It's appreciated. And for getting in from her set and being involved today. She's setting up her set for her show. She will be announcing it. The name of our show together is called Drone Swirling. We will be a review channel on drones and other aerial devices and leisure hobby tools and toys. I will have Miss Sharon again on the show after the Kavanaugh hearings. So you can expect for her to be on, and I will try my best to find our show, and if not, if it has been, because I'm looking for it now, and it's hard to find on this external hard drive. If it's not pulled up, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna do the show again. Put that up. Let me see what that says.
bad handwriting. If you are a victim of sexual assault, contact rain.org.
Let me put it in right now. I can put that in right now.
Yes, let's do that.
And I can type that in right now while you're saying this. Just give me 1 second. I'll put something in right now. If you are a victim of sexual assault, contact. Let me put it up for me so I can type it in. It says 1-800-656-HOPE. And I'm going to post this up right here. If you are a victim of a sexual assault crime and you are looking for help and an outlet to be able to express your fears, your anxieties, and to find the tools needed in order to survive, to continuously become an advocate for others, and stop the victimization, please contact 1-800-656-HOPE. Thank you for all my guests for tuning in. Thank you for Miss Sharon for tuning in, Miss Shannon from the New Right Party for tuning in, and for Miss Juanita Broaddrick. Thank you to all my guests. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay American, and forget the other side because we don't care.